You know, for something like 40 years, our entire digital lives revolved around apps. Icons, menus, windows, tabs. That was the world. If you wanted to get anything done, you had to find the right piece of software, learn its weird quirks, and basically live inside its four walls. It was just how computers worked. But that was all about to change.
And then, bam. In 2027, the whole thing just breaks. The app, the very center of our digital universe for decades, suddenly isn't the center anymore. Something new, something much, much smarter is about to take its place. This is the story of how the app died.
So, to really get why this collapse was so sudden and so dramatic, we've got to go back. We need to understand the world that built the app in the first place. It was an era that wasn't really defined by what was possible, but by what wasn't.
See, the thing about apps is they were a product of their time. The early computers that kicked off this whole revolution, they couldn't understand plain English. They couldn't just adapt to what you needed or whip up an interface on the spot. So, what do? We built these fixed, rigid boxes of software.
And this right here really gets to the art of it. Apps were never a natural way for people to talk to computers. They were a necessary evil, a workaround for the tech we had. We had to build these little self-contained boxes, these digital cages really, and then we had to learn how to navigate every single one of them.
And what did that leave us with? This universal workflow that pretty much everyone had to learn. And honestly, it was a total pain. For any little thing, you had to open the right app, hunt around in its menus, probably jump between a few different windows, and burn entire workflows into your brain that were totally useless anywhere else.
Look, this system worked for a while. But as our digital lives got more and more complex, you could just feel the cracks starting to appear in that foundation. The whole system was heading for a breaking point. The interface itself was about to shatter. I mean, think about it. By the mid-2020s, things were getting ridiculous. The average person was trying to manage hundreds of apps on their phone and computer. And every single one had its own interface, its own login you had to remember, its own little learning curve. The cognitive overload was just immense.
But here's the crazy part. Our computers were more powerful than ever. The processing power was there. So if the hardware wasn't the problem, what was?
The problem was overhead. All the extra work, the sheer amount of effort it took just to manage all the software, to find the right app, open it, update it, navigate it, had become a bigger job than the actual work we were trying to do.
We hit this bizarre tipping point where our main activity wasn't actually doing things anymore. We were just managing software. We spent more time organizing our tools than actually using them. The system was fundamentally broken.
And this is a really, really important point. It's so tempting to say that AI just showed up and killed the app. But that's not the whole story. The truth is, the app ecosystem was already dying. It simply collapsed under the crushing weight of its own complexity.
So what happens when a system like that collapses? Well, something new rises from the ashes. And that something was a complete paradigm shift. The AI operating system had finally arrived. Just look at this comparison to see how much things changed. It's night and day. The old way meant opening a specific travel app, then click, click, filter, click, select, book, maybe half a dozen steps. The new way, you just say what you want. Book me a flight under $300 on Friday. All that complexity just disappears.
So what is this AIOS, really? Well, think of it as a single adaptive front end for everything. Instead of you having to go find the right tool for the job, you describe the job. The OS then figures out what you need and generates the perfect interface for you right then and there.
Maybe the best way to picture it is like this. The AI becomes this universal tool, a single instrument that can instantly reshape itself into a calculator or a photo editor or a travel agent, whatever you need, in the exact moment you need it.
Okay, so if the AI is the new front door, what happens to all that software we used to have? Where does it all go? This is where we get into the new execution layer, and it's where the idea of an app gets completely turned on its head.
This is where it gets really cool. The apps don't just get deleted, they dissolve. They get broken down from these big, clunky programs into their core functions. They become a library of specialized tools that the AI can pick and choose from. This chart shows you exactly what's happening under the hood. You're not telling it to open Photoshop anymore. That's an app-centric way of thinking. Instead, the AI understands your goal. Make this photo look better. And behind the scenes, it just makes a direct call to a function, something like edit image. You, the user, might never even know what software it came from.
So you end up with this totally new tech stack, a new hierarchy of how things get done. Those big apps we knew, they get broken down into APIs. Those APIs expose a bunch of functions, which are now treated as tools. And for the AIOS, calling one of those tools is as basic as a traditional operating system making a system call.
So let's zoom out. What does this future actually feel like to live in? What are the real consequences of living in a world basically without software as we knew it?
Well, for starters, you're not juggling a million apps for complicated tasks anymore. Instead, you have these autonomous agents that do the heavy lifting. You can give an agent a complex goal, and it will plan the steps, do the research, execute using all those different tools, check its work, and then report back to you when it's done.
And the ultimate result of all of this? The App Store, which was once the absolute center of the digital economy? Yeah, that becomes a museum, a digital archive of a time gone by.
It's a relic, right? A monument to a time when we, the humans, had to bend over backwards to fit the rigid logic of our software. For the first time in computing history, the machine was finally, truly, adapting to us.
This is just a monumental shift. It changes literally everything about how we work with technology. We go from being software managers to just getting things done. And that leaves us with one heck of a question to think about as we move into this new era. In a world without apps, which one do you think will be the very last to fade away?